Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hari Om to everyone. Happy Thursday, the day of Jupiter, Guru in Sanskrit. Hope everyone had a pleasant Thursday. We couldn't be studying a more beautiful part of the Bhagavatam in this moment. Isn't it? I was explaining yesterday, Narada Muni, his only shelter as that 5-year-old boy is his mother, right? We learned that. And because he had met the devotees in the monsoon and he learned the philosophy of the soul and the union with God from these Bhaktivedantas, he evolved. And as fate had it, a snake, his mother went out to tend the cows at nighttime, and a snake bit his mother, and his mother died. We just read that. His mother is his everything. He's poor, he's a poor person, he doesn't have anything. His mother is a maidservant. He didn't lose an election. He lost his mother. Everything. And what did Narada Muni say? Because he was so evolved by this time, this is the hand of God. And like I explained, a lot of times when I meet people and they say, oh, I'm an atheist, Yogi Charu, I know that's a mental modification they use. And then my next question when they say I'm an atheist, I ask, why did you become an atheist? And it's always because of a catastrophe, right? If there's a God, how could this happen to me? If there's a God, how could I lose my child? How could I lose this, lose that? That's when people lose faith in God. But we could see Narada Muni lost everything to him. But then he realized, oh, we are all just puppets in God's hands. And so he took that opportunity, and what did he do? Went north to the Himalayas, to where the Bhaktivedantas used to live. So he went up to the north, and he took it as a sign of, that's one aspect, right? That as God sends us tribulations, simultaneously he sends us the tools to overcome those tribulations. So Narada Muni met as a 5-year-old, he met the devotees before the tribulation came, so he evolved, then he could deal with the tribulation. So when we're going through tribulation, we should look, where is the tool to overcome it? And as we are, most of you are yoga teachers, yoga meditation teachers, this is a beautiful time to teach, right? Your studio, your classes, if you're in New York, right, your studios, your classes will be full because people need a tool. You have the tool to share to them. You can help them alleviate their tension at this moment. I'm in a red state. So I went to teach a class today. I met the opposite. The emotions. Even one of the students showed up with a MAGA. I was like, okay, I have to remind this person the happiness you're getting is short-lived, is temporary. And I didn't say it, but as I taught the class today, I explained everyone is looking for a inner happiness. that happiness that we don't lose. It's always there. So just to remind people, right? So uh, everything is transient. Now, if we remember from the Gita, Arjun comes from a political family. So in the Mahabharata, we know Arjun's brother, they lost their kingdom. The Kauravas, the evil-minded Kauravas were ruling. And that's why the Battle of Kurukshetra take place. So and Krishna protected them. So how to see God's hand? Yes, even when Krishna wasn't playing, Krishna allowed for a while the evil-minded to rule. And then Krishna arranged the battle and removed them. So Arjun, he had to learn the Gita. He went and did his Dharma. So we want to evolve with the philosophy. Not because we become spiritual doesn't mean we're not going to go through tribulations. If Arjun and the Pandavas could go through it, Queen Kunti, his mother, we can go through it. And Krishna came and protected them. We should know. If we devote ourselves, Krishna will also protect us. So this is the amazing, life throws us curveballs, right? So we have to, how to cope with we have a tool. We have the philosophy of yoga, and we can share it with others, help others to alleviate their tension, because that's what Narada Muni did. He didn't lose faith in God. Why did God let this happen? No, he was like, okay, this is the hand of God. And so he traveled north. And so that's what we're reading, right? And he passed through cities and didn't get his goal. His mind was fixed on his goal. Let me go and find out who God is fully. Let me do the practices that I was taught. So that's where we are in the beautiful Bhagavatam. So let's continue. We're at mantra, I think mantra 14 today. Might be wrong. Yes, mantra 14. He's walking through the forests and stuff. So mantra 14, Srila Prabhupada translates, thus traveling, I felt tired, both bodily and mentally. And I was both thirsty and hungry. So I took a bath in a river, lake, and also drank water. By contacting water, I got relief from my exhaustion. So this is one of the mantras the yogis live by. In the culture, I think Kai is not here, but he came to Nepal with me just on the last trip. But Bashak is here. When we are hiking, you get extremely exhausted, right? 6-7 hours, up, down, up, and down, up, down. So there's a Nepali flat, right? Yvonne did it once with me as well, up, down. She said, never again. Up, down, the Nepali flat. So you get exhausted. And Yvonne can attest, Bashak can attest. I'm trained when I'm in the mountains, and Kai can attest it as well. I don't eat. I only drink water. Because when I was in my teenage years traveling around the Himalayas, we would do this exact thing like Narada Muni. We would travel with just water and take bath in the nice waterfalls, and you nourish yourself with fresh prana like this. And so now that I do it, I'm always eating, so it's a beautiful time for me to give my organs a break when I'm in the mountains. I'm sure it just clicks. I click in when I'm hiking again. So this is also teaching us. Narada Muni became a mendicant, A mendicant is that yogi who moves through no home, just traveling, and wherever he is at that night, he's going to sleep under the roof of the sky that God provide and on the floor of Mother Bhumi. So this is called a mendicant, traveling mendicant. And we can see what nourishes him is the air he's breathing and water. So when a mendicant goes to someone's house, when you're living in cities and the mendicant goes to someone's house, people in India, they want to wash their feet, they want to give them food, they want to give them donations and like that. The mendicant is not really there for any of those. The mendicant is only there for giving enlightened words of wisdom, guidance. The mendicant can survive on water alone. The mendicant is so evolved spiritually, he can survive just on air. But he will accept these things just to help people, because by them giving charity to the mendicant, they are making spiritual advancement. But the mendicant doesn't really care for it. He's really there, goes to people house to house to house when they're traveling to teach them the philosophy of the Gita. Teach them the philosophy of the Bhagavatam. Show them an example of what a spiritual being is. Yeah. One of my mentors, after my guru, I traveled with my guru and I saw he did it the same way as well. And after my guru left, there's one person who I take shelter of these days as well. His Holiness Radhanath Swami, Nikunja's guru. And you can see the same thing. When I travel with him in India, he's self-satisfied. He can live on just water, little nothing. But he goes to people's homes just to enlighten them. Share. It's like, this is the mood. This is our culture of the Bhagavatam. This is what a mendicant is. So when you meet a mendicant, you'll see they go to homes. They're not there for the Indians. They want to give a feast and all that. And the mendicant will just take a little bit just to honor. They won't eat the whole plate, just to honor. But they're really there to give wisdom, because this is the culture. So Narada Muni, although he felt thirsty, he got hungry. Anyone felt hungry today? Hunger kicks in. So when you're a mendicant, you don't know when food is going to come. But as a mendicant, what quenches your energy, your soul, is the love and the prayer you're praying to God, and externally, water. Let's go to our next mantra. So he said, I got relief from my exhaustion. Mantra 15. After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree, in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the super soul situated within, using my intelligence as I had learned from the liberated souls. Wow. So in the in the Bhagavad Gita, does everyone remember? Krishna says, of fishes, I am the
shark.
I am the shark. Of trees, he says, I am the banyan tree. So we can see this coming up. I grew up in Belize and never saw a banyan tree in my life until I got to India. And whoa, banyan tree. I read it in the Gita. I was so amazed to see Krishna says, of trees, I'm the banyan tree. And later on, when I moved to Hawaii, Hawaii is covered with banyan trees. Everywhere you see banyan trees here by Ala Moana Park, but everywhere banyan trees. And then I went back to Belize like 3 years ago, and an Indian man, he has a farm, and he brought a banyan tree from India to Belize. And someone told me, true, there's a banyan tree in Belize. I said, no way, we don't have it. I said, no. I said, I've got to go meditate and know it. So I went, I met the Indian gentleman. I said, "Do you have a banyan tree here?" He said, "Yes, it's over there." Da, 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 da. So his assistant drove me and Yvonne, and we were going for like half an hour to get to this banyan tree on this farm. And when I found it, it was a young one too, right? So it was, but the roots were already going down into the ground, and a beautiful banyan tree. So I meditated under it for a while. So yes, so Krishna says, "I'm the banyan tree of trees." So Narada Muni meditated under the shadow of the banyan tree. And why is it so beautiful, the banyan tree? You find a banyan tree, you don't know where is the original root or where is the original trunk, because the way how the banyan tree grows, it grows up like this, it branches out, and then some branches from there comes back down into the earth. So you see, oh wow, amazing. So the banyan tree is, if you ever find a banyan tree in your, does anyone know if there's a banyan tree in Central Park? I've never seen a banyan tree in Central Park. Is there a banyan tree in New Vrindavan, Nikunja?
No.
No, right? So if you find a banyan tree, oh, go meditate under it. The power of the tree gives blessings and very deep, deep absorption. So he found a banyan tree, and this mantra is very powerful. He says he meditated not to his own mental speculation. He practiced the techniques that was passed down to him by his gurus from the Bhaktivedantas. Yes? So a lot of times I meet people come to meditation. Yeah, I make up my own meditation. I'm like, no. In the culture of the philosophy of yoga, it's called Ekam Parampara Praptam. This knowledge is passed on from teacher to student, teacher to student, teacher to student. So when I get a mantra from my guru, I know it's passed on all the way to from Lord Brahma. When I get my initiation from the mantras, I know Brahma chanted these mantras originally. So Narada Muni got some practices from the Bhaktivedantas. So when he got to the mountains, into the Himalayas, it was in a forest, uninhabited. No one is there living. He found the tree. As he starts to meditate, he didn't just speculate, oh, I'm going to do this, oh, I'm going to do this. No. He had techniques which were passed down to him, and he did it. So in Kali Yuga, we have many Dharan techniques or concentration techniques passed down to us. And of all of the techniques we have, right, we have concentration on Tulsi Devi, concentration on the deity, concentration on Nad Yoga, the Maha Mantra. So in Kali Yuga, it's described, if you can only do one concentration technique, it should be concentrated the mind on the yoga of sound vibration, because sound vibration can trap your mind, take you deep into self-realization. So you'll see all the yogas all over India, Nepal, you'll see they all have a mala. And then when you go to Tibet, you see all the Buddhists, they have a mala. And when you go to the Catholics, right, if you go, you see all the priests, they have a rosary. All the nuns are rosary. In other words, all the cultures around the planet, spiritual, they know, oh, through sound vibration, I can call out the names of God. So whenever I'm doing my pilgrimage in the mountains, I always have my mala with me. I'm always connecting because it's parampara passed down to us from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the yogis, we live with the parampara. So this is a very beautiful mantra. It's amazing. It says, after that, under the shadow of a banyan tree, in that uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the super soul. So he learned a technique how to meditate on the super soul, Paramatma, or we say the Lord in the heart. So I like teaching this meditation, connecting to the Lord in the heart, Paramatma. I am an Atma, you are an Atma. We are all Atmas, soul, spiritual being. But right next to all of us in the heart is the super soul, the Paramatma. So this happened in the previous yuga. Narada Muni is telling this to Vyasadeva, his disciple. I meditated on the Paramatma. So when Yogacara is telling you to meditate on the super soul, it's not something new. Yogacara didn't make it up. It is from Ekam Parampara Praptam, from the lineage, from the bona fide lineage of the philosophy. Let's go to the next mantra. Mantra 16. As soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes, and without delay, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. Whoa, this is, he's sharing us. Normally, an evolved being, a spiritual guru, very evolved, they don't share their inner experiences with the masses. They won't share it on social media. Hello, sometimes I see something on social media, and I'm like, no, cherish it. Hold it for you. It's for you. It's not for the world to know. Cherish it, right? And so I could see when people are not on that level, right? Someone posts, "Oh yeah, I was in Samadhi last night." No, you were not. If you were in Samadhi, you would keep it to yourself. Oh yeah, I reached a certain stage of enlightenment. No, you don't need to tell anyone. If you get there, it's for you, not for the world. But we can see Narada Muni is sharing it to his disciple. He's sharing it to Vyasadeva. He's telling Vyasadeva what's taking place. So a guru would share their inner experiences to their students, not to the masses, right? The second someone goes on social media, no, they've missed the point. If you get any deep inner experiences, share it with your close family and friends. Yes, that's going to inspire us. But you don't share it to her because the rest of the world doesn't even know what they don't understand what's taking place. So what is Narada Muni sharing to Vyasadeva? As soon as he sat down and he started to meditate on the super soul, on the lotus feet of Krishna, something happened in him. Tears started to flow from his eyes, right? The symptoms of love, pure love. Narada Muni is describing to us in this mantra his spiritual ecstasy. And because he shared it to Vyasadeva, we get a glimpse of it now. Wow. This is what takes place when you meditate on the lotus feet of God. And here in this mantra, he says, I meditated on the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, and my mind transformed in transcendental love. What does that mean? It means Narada Muni saw the form of Krishna, and there was no more material desires. There was no more lust in him, no more fear, no more, just transcendental love. And when he saw the form of Krishna, he was like, the tears just started to flow. So once Srila Prabhupada used to, he would, before he would teach Bhagavatam in the morning, he would chant a mantra, Jai Radha Madhava mantra. It's a beautiful mantra. It's about 4 lines describing Krishna in Vrindavan. And he would always have his eyes closed, meditating on the mantra and pastime. And many times the disciples would see Prabhupada would just stop in the middle of the mantra and freeze. And then they would just see tears flowing from his eyes. Right? They were like 10 minutes pass by, the whole room is silent, but Prabhupada was in that spiritual ecstasy. Tears flow, and then he would come out of his internal trance and he would just say Bhagavatam class is over, and then he would go to his he'd go to his room just to be with it. So when we meditate deep, we get these inner experience. And I've been meditating on these mantras and stuff for a while, and every now and then we get a glimpse of what Narada Muni tastes. It's like, wow. So tears flowing from his eyes out of pure love. Another symptom he says here is, and without delay, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. So this tells us this flower is very amazing. So much so, when the Vedas describe God, they use this adjective, lotus-eyed Lord, lotus neck, lotus limbs, right? Lotus, he says here, on the lotus of my heart. So remember, the lotus grows where? In muddy water. But the lotus is above it. It's so pure. So our heart, he's indirectly telling us, for us to see God, God is already in the heart, but for us to see God, we have to let the heart becomes pure, like a lotus. As our heart becomes pure, we will see the personality of Godhead right here. God is already there, but we just can't perceive because we are covered by the three modes of nature. So don't be surprised. Sometimes you're studying something, you're reading the Bible, and you just choke up. Wow. That's a spiritual glimpse of maybe 1% of what Narada Muni got. But we want to get these. We get these throughout your journey. This is like I explained, this is my 3rd decade practicing this lifestyle. And I've probably had about 4 or 5, not fully like this, that he's this, but I've got like 4 or 5 experiences like, whoa, okay. Krishna just blew me away. I was like, whoa, okay, it works. The practice works. It's not just theory in the books. We all of us will get glimpses of it. And when you get it, you cherish those moments. You write it in your diary. It's for you to keep. And then every now and then you share it to someone who is qualified. You don't have to go and post it on this social. It's for you and those who understand the philosophy. So we want the heart to be pure. So that's why we do sadhana, practice. That's why we associate with like-minded people, those who are pure-hearted, evolve with them. And more our hearts will get purified. Let's go to the next mantra. Oh, Vyasadeva, he's telling Vyasadeva, his disciple, at that time, being exceedingly overpowered by the feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord. So, have any one of you in this room had an experience of ooze bumps, we say? Oh, right? Now, multiply that by 100 times. Narada Muni says all his limbs, out of pure love for God, when he saw Krishna in his heart, on that lotus of his, all his limbs got so much enlivened. The spiritual forces coming through him, but he was so happy. He's describing transcendental happiness here. This happiness is nothing from the material world. All the happiness we get from the material world are temporary, short-lived. We cannot describe. Narada Muni, we cannot read, Prabhupada explains, we cannot fully describe the inner happiness we get from the spiritual world. But he's trying his best to share it to Vyasadeva. And he's this, oh, I didn't even know where my limbs were. I didn't even know. I was just in so much bliss, right? The closest thing we get in this world to what Narada Muni is describing here is when we offer service to another living entity. When you help someone in need, when you help someone across the street, an elderly person who is, the green light is turning you and you help that person. And then when the person gets across and you say goodbye, there's a certain joy in your heart that comes close. It's a spiritual joy. There's a joy that comes when you have certain material assets and, oh, this person needs some food, and you share your food with that person. There's a joy in it, in service. So Narada Muni, because he understood devotional service, he tapped into that happiness that he's describing. So the mood of a devotee is love everyone as God representative and serve them. Through the mode of service, we understand. In the material culture, it's the opposite. My happiness will come from people serving me, right? Everyone wants to be served in this world. How about serving another living entity out of just pure love, right? Serve the plants, serve the animals, serve a human when they are in need. It's the best serve. That we get a glimpse of this spiritual happiness Narada Muni is describing. And he says the happiness he was in completely blurred his vision. He couldn't even see himself and he couldn't see God because he was so happy. How many times have we heard you were so happy that you forgot what you were happy about? Who had that experience before? In the material world, we've had some experience, right? So, one of my friends in India, he teach laughter yoga. So I thought, he's my friend. I'll go take his class. He invited me to it. And then he just says, okay, I just want you to laugh. And I was like, how do I say? And then he started to give instruction. Remember this, remember. And all of a sudden, the whole room of about 200 people are just laughing. Laughter yoga. And I had to use that image of something I saw in Australia. He said, think of something that made you laugh before. I had to use that image. I saw a very funny thing in Australia. And I brought it up. And I started laughing. And it was amazing. The whole room started to laugh. And as I was laughing, I realized I forgot what I was laughing about. Because it just... And he gave all this, and before he gave all the scientific benefits, right? How the laughter heals the lungs, heals the heart, it's the endorphins. It was amazing. And you can just see a room with 200 people laugh. So when I explain, that's just 1% of what Narada Muni is expressing here. He was so happy. He was in bliss. He was laughing. He was like, transcend tears, happy, just joy that he forgot. The tears blurred his vision about where Krishna is on the lotus of his heart and himself. So this is what we want to aspire for. We want to go deep in the heart to get this deep inner happiness. And let's go to the next mantra, see what he says. I could not see both myself or the Lord. Mantra 18. The transcendental form of the Lord as it is satisfies the mind's desire and at once erases all mental incongruities. Upon losing that form, I suddenly got up, being perturbed, as is usual when one loses that which is desirable. So the first part of this mantra is very profound. Srila Prabhupada explains, Narada Muni is saying the transcendental form of the Lord. In other words, God is not formless. He doesn't have a material form. He has a transcendental spiritual form. So, because we see a lot of material forms in this world, we think God should be formless. Yes, God has an aspect of that. We call that the Brahma Jyoti. But Narada Muni, on the lotus of his heart, he saw the transcendental form of Krishna. And it was so beautiful, so blissful. And the next part of this mantra is very tricky. He's telling Vyasadeva, he's starting to lament. He says, this form satisfied all my mental desires. So we know, every one of us in this room, we have mental desires, material desires. Along with it, we have spiritual desires. This form that he saw satisfied anything he could get from material desires, and anything he could get from spiritual desires was fully satisfying to him. He was so content. Satisfaction. It is rare you meet someone in this world who says, I am satisfied. Everyone you meet in this world wants a little bit more of something. And so the yogis say, as you evolve spiritually, yes, we want to have spiritual desires, more of spiritual desires. Minimize the material desires. Here, Narada Muni is saying, I was so satisfied in bliss. But then what happens? Because he got glory, he lost the vision. He says, upon losing that form, I suddenly got up. So he got up. He was like drying his eye, being perturbed, as is usual when one loses which one desires. So he saw Krishna on the lotus of his heart. He followed the practices the Bhaktivedantas gave him. And he reached spiritual ecstasy, and Krishna disappears from him. So let's go to the next mantra. Next mantra is so powerful. Mantra 19. I desire to see again that transcendental form of the Lord. But despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness to view the form again, I could not see him anymore, and thus dissatisfied, I was very much aggrieved. So this Narada Muni is giving us a hint. God appeared to him and disappeared. We cannot achieve God by any mechanical means. He sat back down and he did the same meditation again. Didn't come back. He's like, whatever, I tried, I couldn't see. So Srila Prabhupada gives us the beautiful analogy. You cannot demand the sun to come up if it's 2 a.m. 2 a.m. I want the sun. Sun, please come up. You cannot demand the sun to come up. The sun will come up on its own accord. Yes? So similarly, we cannot demand Krishna to come into our hearts, or to reveal himself. All we need to do is to do the sadhana, do the practice, and one day, out of Krishna's own sweet will, he reveals himself to us. And like I said, I've got maybe 4 or 5 little glimpses, and then gone. So Krishna will reveal himself to you from time to time and go away. And if you do this, and I read this, and I remember once I had an amazing experience. And then I went and tried and go back and do it again. Sure enough, didn't happen. And this is so spot on. We cannot evoke, there's no mechanical means. It's out of God's causeless mercy that God reveals himself to us. So And then he pulls himself away. So Narada Muni is saying, man, I got it, Vyasadeva. I saw it, and I lost it. So there's a reason why he let us lose it. What's the reason? Does anyone know?
Our attachment to the process.
Yes, so we call it spiritual hankering. So for the rest of Narada Muni's life, he was hankering for that experience again and again, that he lived such a pure life. Because he knows it, the heart has to be pure to get the Lord again. So he lived such a pure life. So spiritual hankering is needed. Right? We have material hankerings, right? A lot of materials, but let's spiritualize it, spiritual hankering. Let's meditate on these mantras, especially the ecstasy Narada Muni is revealing to us. And the nice thing about it is, Srila Prabhupada explained, each and every one of us will have a unique experience with Krishna. So when we describe it, it will be different from Narada Muni. It'll be similar, but whoa, unique to us. Good. Stretch the legs out, wiggle the ankles, cross the legs back, palms on the knees, touch the tip of the thumbs, tip of the index fingers. Close the eyes softly. Bring the whole body into stillness. Bring the mind into the present moment on the breath. Feel the air moving in and out. Gaze in the center of the eyebrows and recognize this world is a universe and a world of dualities. There is the sun and moon. The sun lasts for a while, then the moon rises for a while. Happiness comes in this world for a while. Distress comes for a while. Matras Pashasta Kontea Dira, we must become sober-minded in both, because they're like the seasons. They only last for a while. I want you to bring the image of a banyan tree in your mind. If you've seen a banyan tree in real life, or if you've seen a picture of it, that banyan tree has many roots. It's hard to find the original root and trunk. And if you find one in this life, take an opportunity to go under it and meditate for 10-15 minutes. If you don't have one, then imagine one is right behind you at this moment. Energetic banyan tree. Radha Muni meditated on under the banyan tree, and he said, there's a lotus in our hearts. Imagine a beautiful lotus flower in our heart, in your heart space. And that lotus is very pure, it doesn't mix with the mud. So the lotus is teaching us that our hearts must become purer and purer. Every day is an opportunity to purify it. And as we purify our heart, we will tap into something called the unconditional love of God. And you will see the beautiful form of the super soul. You've seen the deity of Krishna, if you've seen a picture of Krishna, in that lotus heart, in the center of that lotus, plays the beautiful form of Krishna, just as Narada Muni did. His feet is a little reddish. He has ankle bells, toe rings. He has little tulsi leaves on the feet. He has a yellow dhoti. He's holding his flute. He has a peacock feather in his hair. His lotus eyes, lotus lips, red with like bimba fruit, earrings, necklaces. This is the form that Narada Muni meditated on. And every day our heart gets pure, that form will reveal itself to us slowly. Just as we cannot demand the sun to come up at this moment, the sun will come on its own accord. When we are ready, God will reveal himself to us, that transcendental form to us again and again and again. And we'll be, all our desires, material and spiritual desires, will be fully satisfied. We'll experience love like we've never experienced before. So much so our limbs, hair will stand on end, tears will flow of joy, of gratitude. For the next minute, just hold the form of Krishna on the lotus of your heart, that pure lotus flower. Following in the footsteps of Narada Muni, we want to humbly request the Lord to reveal himself again and again to us. And as we get that darshan, we understand service attitude. We want to share the love from our heart to others through service, assisting and other living entities in need. We'll get a spiritual happiness as well. Bring your gaze back to the breath at the entrance of the nostrils. Grateful for the breath. Take a deep inhalation. Exhale slowly. Bring the palms to the heart. Lower the brain, the skull towards that lotus flower of your heart. Towards the Lord in the heart, the super soul. And especially in this age, this time, we have been given a tool to alleviate suffering. Let's teach and share, help our fellow human brothers and sisters to release tension in their minds and hearts by teaching our yoga nidra, or meditation classes, or yoga classes. Namaste. Lift the head, open the eyes. Adi Om Tat Sat. Thank you all so much. Hope you have a beautiful weekend sharing and meditating on the lotus of your heart. Thank you, Bashak. Mahalo, Greg. Mahalo, Babadi. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Haroldji. Thank you, Nikunja. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Helene. Thank you, Yvonne. Hari Om. Tat Sat. See you on Masterclass if you're free on Saturday. Thank you.